Admiral Chen's gaze swept across the bridge crew, each officer frozen at their station as the unknown signal pulsed rhythmically on the main view screen. The UES Indomitable, humanity's greatest technological achievement, had been designed for this very moment. First contact, though no one had expected it to come so soon. Origin point confirmed. Admiral, Lieutenant Santos reported from the sensor array. Signal emanates from the vicinity of Neptune's moon Triton. Definitely artificial, and definitely not one of ours. Chen nodded, her mind racing through protocols that suddenly seemed inadequate. The Indomitable had been scheduled for another 6 months of testing in Earth orbit before its official commissioning. Now it would face its trial by fire. Engineering, what's our status? Chen's voice remained steady, betraying none of the adrenaline coursing through her veins. Chief Engineer Kazuo Tanaka's voice crackled through the comm. Main fusion reactors at 89% efficiency, Admiral. The quantum shield generators are operational but untested at full capacity. Weapons systems online, though targeting algorithms could use another calibration pass. That'll have to do, Chief. Chen turned to her XO. Commander Reyes, Sound General Quarters. I want everyone at battle stations. The klaxon wailed as blue alert lighting bathed the bridge in an ethereal glow. Chen watched as her crew transformed before her eyes. Nervous glances replaced by focused determination, hesitation giving way to practiced efficiency. They were young, too young for this responsibility, but they were the best Earth had to offer. Helm, set course for the signal origin. 1/4 thrust until we clear Luna's orbit. Then give me everything this ship can deliver. Aye, Admiral, the helmsman responded, her fingers dancing across the navigation interface. Course plotted and laid in. The massive battleship shuddered as its engines ignited with newfound purpose. Outside, docking clamps released with pneumatic hisses, umbilical power connections detached, and the Indomitable began its maiden voyage, not with ceremonial fanfare, but with urgent necessity. Lieutenant Rodriguez continued analyzing the signal pattern, his dark eyes narrowing. Admiral, I'm detecting embedded mathematical sequences within the transmission. They're elegant, almost like they're testing our comprehension, or measuring our technological sophistication, Chen mused. Can you respond using the same mathematical language? Working on it now, Rodriguez confirmed. Dr. Eliza Sharma, the ship's xenolinguist, joined Rodriguez at his station. The pattern shifts every 42 seconds. There's a deliberate complexity here. Whoever sent this wants to ensure they're communicating with an intelligent species capable of abstract thought. As the Indomitable accelerated past the moon's orbit, Earth diminished behind them. A fragile blue marble harboring 8 billion souls, unaware that their cosmic status was about to change forever. Signal strength increasing, Santos announced. Whatever's out there, we're getting closer to it. Chen settled into her command chair, feeling its contours adjust to her form. She trained her entire career for this moment, run countless simulations, but nothing could prepare humanity for the reality of first contact. Lieutenant Rodriguez, prepare a general greeting in all formats once we've responded to their mathematical challenge. Tell them who we are, where we come from, and our peaceful intentions. She paused, then added, but keep our tactical systems on full alert. Peace is always preferable, but the Indomitable wasn't built just to make statements. As Neptune's distant blue form grew on the long-range scanners, something else appeared. Geometric shapes too precise to be natural, too alien to be human. First contact was no longer theoretical. It was imminent. Senior observer Kreltav's exoskeletal fingers trembled as he transmitted the alert to the Vrex command vessel. The observation post, camouflaged within Triton's nitrogen ice for nearly 70 Earth years, had never detected anything like the approaching human ship. High Commander, the vessel's energy signature exceeds all predictive models, Kreltav reported, his translator converting his clicking speech into the standard Vrex communication frequency. Their shield harmonics suggest quantum-level engineering that our assessment team deemed centuries beyond human capability. In the crystalline command chamber of his flagship, High Commander Zix absorbed this disturbing information with practiced stillness. The bioluminescent patterns beneath his translucent skin shifted from calm azure to concerned violet, a change he quickly suppressed before his subordinates could notice. "Activate the full sensor array," Zix ordered. "I want every detail about this human vessel before it reaches detection range of our fleet." The Vrex command ship, Eternal Harmony, hung suspended among 5 other vessels, their formation designed specifically to project overwhelming power while concealing their true capabilities. The standard protocol that worked flawlessly with 17 other emerging civilizations: show strength, explain the quarantine as protection, establish the resource extraction perimeter, and leave the primitives none the wiser. But humans had already deviated from the script. "Visual contact established," announced the sensor officer, Second Commander Velnerix. The main viewing field shimmered to life, displaying the approaching human vessel. Zix felt his secondary heart quicken. The ship was smaller than the Eternal Harmony, yet its design spoke of focused military purpose. No ornamental features, no aesthetic considerations, just functional, efficient engineering oriented toward combat capability. The whole material absorbed rather than reflected sensor probes, and its propulsion system operated at efficiency levels the Vrex had only theorized. "They call it indomitable," Velnerix translated from intercepted communications, a curious name implying it cannot be defeated. A primitive species overconfidence, Zix dismissed, even as doubt flickered across his neural pathways. Open communication channels. The viewing field shifted, displaying a human female with short gray hair and penetrating eyes that seemed to evaluate everything they saw. Her uniform bore minimal ornamentation, just small symbols on her collar and chest that the Vrex cultural database identified as military rank indicators. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of the United Earth Ship Indomitable," the human spoke, her voice calm and measured. "We acknowledge your presence in our solar system and request clarification of your intentions." The directness startled Zix. According to all observation data, humans typically responded with either aggression or fear to the unknown. This measured diplomatic approach wasn't in their behavioral profiles. "I am High Commander Zix of the Vrex Confederation," he responded, activating the translation matrix. "Your species has been monitored as part of standard protocols for emerging civilizations. We are establishing a protective boundary around your system to prevent destabilizing interactions with galactic society until your species reaches appropriate maturity levels." As he spoke, Zix signaled silently to his tactical officer to initiate deep scanning of the human vessel. The response came almost immediately and impossibly. "High Commander," the tactical officer reported with poorly concealed alarm, "our scanning beams are being reflected." "No, not reflected. They're being analyzed and returned with modified signatures. The humans are examining our technology while we attempt to examine theirs." On the viewing field, Admiral Chen's expression hadn't changed, but something in her eyes suggested she knew exactly what was happening. The corner of her mouth lifted slightly, a human expression the Vrex database identified as a knowing smile. For the first time in 300 cycles of service, High Commander Zix felt something dangerously close to uncertainty. Admiral Chen watched the Vrex ships maneuver into a containment formation with practiced precision. Their movement suggested countless previous encounters, refined to an art form. Unfortunately for them, humans had perfected a different art, adapting to the unexpected. "They've done this before," Lieutenant Commander Patil observed from the tactical station. "Standard intimidation protocol. They're positioning to maximize visual impact rather than tactical advantage." Chen nodded. "Psychological warfare, oldest trick in the book." On the main view screen, High Commander Zix continued his rehearsed speech about protective isolation and developmental guidance, but Chen was more interested in what the alien wasn't saying. The Indomitable's advanced sensors were revealing details about the Vrex fleet that contradicted their diplomatic overtures. Engineering, what are you seeing in their power distribution? Chen asked over the secure channel. Chief Engineer Tanaka's voice came through with undisguised excitement. Fascinating design philosophy. Admiral, their systems favor efficiency over redundancy. They're running everything at optimal capacity with minimal reserves. No emergency backups, no isolated circuits. One critical hit would cascade through their entire power grid. A species that doesn't expect to be attacked, Chen mused, or hasn't faced a serious threat in generations. As Zix finished explaining how Earth would benefit from Vrex protection, a smaller vessel on the fleet's perimeter suddenly adjusted position, its weapons array glowing with activated energy. Incoming, Patel shouted as the Vrex ship fired what was clearly intended as a demonstration shot, powerful enough to register on sensors, but calibrated to dissipate before impact. Chen didn't flinch. Let our systems respond automatically. The Indomitable's adaptive defense grid activated without human intervention. Instead of the expected energy absorption, the shields analyzed the incoming weapon's frequency in microseconds and generated a precise counter-harmonic. The Vrex warning shot didn't just dissipate, it unraveled, its energy signature breaking apart like a wave hitting perfectly positioned rocks. On the view screen, Zix bioluminescent patterns flared with unmistakable surprise. Their weapons officer fired without authorization. Chen noted calmly. Interesting command structure they have. Lieutenant Rodriguez at Communications straightened suddenly. Admiral, they're probing our computer systems through the communication channel, attempting to access our databases. Let them in, Chen said, to the visible shock of her bridge crew. The restricted pathway only. Show them who they're dealing with. Rodriguez hesitated for only a moment before implementing the order. The restricted pathway was a carefully constructed simulation of human-computer architecture, a honeypot designed to reveal only what humanity wanted potential adversaries to see. Within moments, the Vrex intrusion programs encountered historical files that Earth's military strategists had specifically curated for first contact scenarios. The ancient battles of Thermopylae and Agincourt, where outnumbered forces defeated superior enemies through superior tactics. Footage from the orbital defense war, showing how humans had improvised solutions to seemingly insurmountable technological challenges. Technical specifications for outdated weapon systems that nonetheless demonstrated humanity's unique approach to warfare. On the Eternal Harmony, Zix sensor officer recoiled physically from his station. High Commander, their historical records. These humans have spent their entire civilization fighting. Not just external enemies. They've fought themselves. Thousands of wars. Millions of battles. They've built their technology through conflict we can barely comprehend. The tactical display showed the Vrex fleet subtly adjusting position, no longer in intimidation formation, but in defensive array. Fear, Chen recognized. They were responding with fear. Open a channel, Chen ordered, straightening her uniform. I believe our new friends are ready for a more honest conversation. Admiral Chen studied the chess piece in her palm. A knight carved from lunar basalt, a gift from her grandfather who had taught her the game decades ago. The piece that moves in ways enemies don't expect, he had told her. She placed it carefully on her desk and activated her personal terminal. Computer, display all tactical analyses of Vrex vessel vulnerabilities. A holographic display bloomed with schematics highlighting the alien ship's weaknesses. Unshielded power transfer junctions, centralized command systems without redundancies, weapon arrays that sacrificed coverage for efficiency. Lieutenant Commander Patel had been thorough in her assessment. Chen's terminal chimed with an incoming communication. Admiral, High Commander Zix is requesting to resume dialogue, Lieutenant Rodriguez reported. His tone indicators suggest, I believe he's unsettled. On my way. Chen pocketed the chess piece and returned to the bridge, where her crew maintained combat readiness with practiced calm. The main view screen activated to reveal Zix Terra, his posture more rigid than before, bioluminescent patterns pulsing with colors that suggested internal conflict. Admiral Chen, the alien commander began, there appears to be a misunderstanding regarding our presence. The protective quarantine is standard protocol for all developing species. Is that what you told the Centauri system before stripping their outer planets of rare minerals? Chen asked casually, watching confusion ripple across Zix Terra's features. Yes, Commander, we've been monitoring deep space communications for decades. Your protective quarantine seems remarkably profitable for the Vrex Confederation. A tense silence stretched between the vessels as Zix Terra processed this revelation. When he spoke again, his translator conveyed a new tone, one of cautious respect. Your species continues to defy expectations. Admiral, perhaps there is room for negotiation. Chen allowed herself a small smile. I propose something more illuminating than negotiation, Commander. A demonstration. One ship against one ship, using non-lethal combat protocols. If humans prove worthy, Earth receives consideration as an equal, not a quarantined primitive world. The bridge crew exchanged subtle glances. This wasn't part of first contact protocols, but they trusted Chen's instincts. On the view screen, Zix Terra's secondary appendages twitched with what the Indomitable's xenobiology team identified as excitement or anticipation. An intriguing proposal, Admiral. The Vrex have not engaged in martial demonstration with another species in 900 cycles. His head tilted in what humans would recognize as curiosity. What parameters do you suggest? Simple, Chen replied. Your flagship against mine. Controlled energy levels, no projectile weapons. Victory by disabling key systems without causing catastrophic damage. A test of skill and technology, not destructive capability. Zix Terra conferred briefly with his officers off-screen before responding. The Eternal Harmony accepts your challenge. Admiral Chen of Earth, we will position at the designated coordinates near your planet Neptune in 6 of your hours. As the communication ended, Commander Reyes stepped closer to Chen's command chair. Admiral, the Eternal Harmony outmasses us 3-1, with energy reserves to match. Are you certain this is wise? Chen withdrew the knight from her pocket, turning it between her fingers. The Vrex built their ships for efficiency and diplomatic display. We built ours for survival against unknown threats. She set the chess piece on the tactical display, where it cast a long shadow across the holographic representation of the Vrex flagship. Besides, Commander, she added with quiet confidence, they're expecting a battleship. They're not expecting humans. Neptune's azure glow bathed both vessels in ethereal light as they positioned themselves at the agreed-upon distance. The Indomitable looked almost delicate compared to the crystalline behemoth that was the Eternal Harmony. Observation drones hovered at safe distances, transmitting the encounter to both the waiting Vrex fleet and Earth's anxious defense council. Targeting systems primed, non-lethal parameters locked. Lieutenant Commander Patil announced, her fingers dancing across tactical interfaces with precision, born from thousands of simulation hours. They're scanning us continuously, Admiral, trying to predict our first move. Chen nodded, studying the three-dimensional representation of both vessels. Let them look. Initiate defense pattern Echo 7. The Indomitable's thrusters fired in precisely timed sequences, beginning a seemingly random rotation that constantly shifted its profile, while maintaining weapons lock on the Vrex flagship. It was a technique developed from ancient aerial dogfighting, presenting an ever-changing target while maintaining offensive capability. Aboard the Eternal Harmony, Zix Terra watched with growing fascination. Their movement pattern defies prediction algorithms, his tactical officer reported with undisguised alarm. We're registering 15 potential attack vectors simultaneously. Impossible, Zix Terra murmured, though the evidence hovered before him. Launch primary disabling sequence. The Vrex flagship released a brilliant pulse of energy designed to temporarily overload electronic systems, a standard first move in their ceremonial combat demonstrations with other civilizations. But the Indomitable twisted impossibly, the pulse grazing its starboard shields, which flared not with resistance but with adaptation, absorbing and redirecting the energy along its hull. They anticipated our standard opening, Zix Terra realized. How could they know? On the Indomitable's bridge, Chen allowed herself a thin smile. They're following established protocols. Return fire, pattern Hyperion. The human vessel's response came not from its main weapons array, but from 4 seemingly decorative nodes along its ventral hull. Secondary systems, the Vrex scans had dismissed as sensor equipment. The targeted energy burst struck the Eternal Harmony's propulsion matrix with surgical precision, causing momentary fluctuations rather than damage. A warning shot, Chen explained to her bridge crew. Showing them, we could have targeted their main engines but chose restraint. The Vrex flagship shifted tactics, attempting to maneuver above the Indomitable to target its dorsal sections. But the human vessel anticipated this, executing a corkscrew maneuver that no ship its size should manage without straining structural integrity. Admiral, Lieutenant Rodriguez called from communications. I'm intercepting internal Vrex transmissions. Their engineering team is. They're arguing about our maneuverability. They're saying our hull materials should fracture under these G-forces. Chen's hand closed around the chest knight in her pocket. They designed their ships for optimal conditions. We designed ours for worst-case scenarios. The dance continued for 17 minutes, the Indomitable consistently evading the Vrex flagship's increasingly desperate attacks while landing precise, measured strikes that demonstrated exactly what systems they could disable if desired. When the Eternal Harmony attempted its most powerful maneuver, a cascading energy field designed to overwhelm any defensive system, the Indomitable responded not with evasion but with direct confrontation. Its forward shields reconfigured in real time, creating a funnel-like effect that channeled the Vrex attack into its energy absorption systems. Impossible, Zix Terra whispered again as his flagship's signature attack dissipated harmlessly against the smaller vessel. They shouldn't have the technology to analyze and counter energy signatures this quickly. In that moment, watching his most powerful weapons rendered ineffective by a species he dismissed as primitive, High Commander Zix Terra experienced something entirely new in his long career. Admiration for an opponent. Lieutenant Sarah Patil hunched over her secure terminal in the Indomitable's data center, her eyes reflecting scrolling alien code as her fingers commanded decryption algorithms with practiced precision. The challenge had provided perfect cover. While the Vrex focused on the tactical engagement, they'd neglected to secure their broader communication network. Got you, she whispered as the encryption finally yielded. What she found sent ice through her veins. The first files contained detailed surveys of the solar system's outer planets and moons, not diplomatic assessments, but resource extraction plans. Triton alone was marked for nitrogen and methane harvesting that would alter its mass enough to destabilize Neptune's orbit over centuries. Jupiter's moons featured extensive heavy metal mining projections. Even Earth's moon had been cataloged for rare Earth elements. Deeper in the database, she discovered something more disturbing. 17 other star systems under protective quarantine, all showing evidence of systematic resource depletion, while their native civilizations remained unaware, confined to their home planets. Admiral, Patil's voice was steady despite her racing heart as she opened a secure channel to the bridge. You need to see this immediately. On the bridge, Chen reviewed the data with cold fury building behind her professional facade. The demonstration battle with the Eternal Harmony had been merely a distraction. Now she understood the stakes were far higher. Transmit everything to my tactical display, Chen ordered, and prepare to broadcast on all Vrex frequencies simultaneously. Commander Reyes stepped closer, lowering his voice. Admiral, if we reveal we've broken their encryption. The time for games is over, Commander, Chen interrupted. They came to steal, not protect. Every species in the Vrex protection program deserves to know the truth. Chen straightened her uniform and faced the main view screen, where the Eternal Harmony hovered against Neptune's azure backdrop. The demonstration had officially concluded in a diplomatic draw. Both ships had shown restraint and precision, but the real confrontation was just beginning. "High Commander Zixtara, I commend your vessel's performance," Chen began formally. "However, before we conclude our encounter, I believe we should discuss these." With a gesture, she authorized the broadcast. On every Vrex ship, displays suddenly filled with their own resource extraction plans, mineral surveys, and timetables for systematic harvesting of the solar system. The effect was immediate, and chaos erupted across Vrex communication channels. 3 distinct communication patterns emerged, each corresponding to one of the Confederation's member species. The universal translation matrix struggled to keep pace, but the meaning was clear: accusation, denial, and internal conflict. You promised equal distribution. The Tellarites were never informed of the lunar extraction plans. The Council voted against gas giant harvesting. This violates compact laws. On the view screen, Zixtara's bioluminescent patterns flashed chaotically before stabilizing into a cold, hard blue. "This is an unauthorized intrusion into sovereign Vrex databases," he stated, but the force had left his voice. "No, Commander," Chen replied calmly. "This is evidence of an unauthorized intrusion into sovereign human space. Your protective quarantine appears remarkably similar to colonial resource theft." As the Vrex flagship's lights dimmed momentarily, their systems diverting power to secure internal communications, Chen nodded to Patel at the tactical station. "Now, Lieutenant, implement Zeus Protocol." The Indomitable suddenly pulsed with energy, releasing precisely calibrated electromagnetic bursts, targeting each Vrex vessel's command and control systems. One by one, the alien ship's external lights flickered and died, life support remaining their only functioning system. In less than 40 seconds, the entire Vrex fleet hung powerless in space, their mighty technology neutralized by a single human vessel they had dismissed as primitive only hours before. The bridge of the Indomitable fell silent as the crew watched the disabled Vrex fleet drift against Neptune's azure backdrop. Victory had come swiftly, decisively, but Admiral Chen felt no triumph, only the weight of what must come next. "Status of Vrex life support systems," she asked. Lieutenant Rodriguez consulted his readings. "Stable but operating on emergency power. Estimated duration of 72 hours before critical resources deplete." Chen nodded, having already made her decision. "Open a channel to all vessels." The view screen flickered to life, showing multiple split images of confused and frightened alien faces, not just the commanding officers, but engineering crews and regular personnel across the fleet. Chen stood from her command chair, her posture straight but not threatening. "This is Admiral Helena Chen of Earth. Your ships have been temporarily disabled to prevent further hostile action. Your life support systems remain functional." She paused, letting the translation reach all vessels. "Despite your intentions toward our system, we have no desire for your destruction. Prepare to receive engineering assistance." Confusion rippled visibly across the alien faces. One Vrex officer, his mandibles clicking in apparent disbelief, managed to respond. "You will assist us after disabling our fleet." "That is correct," Chen replied. "We are dispatching engineering teams to help restore critical systems. Your weapons will remain offline, but we will ensure your vessels can safely return to your territory." As she gave the order, Chief Engineer Tanaka was already organizing teams, selecting personnel with specialized knowledge, and preparing atmospheric suits for extravehicular activity. The Indomitable's shuttle bay buzzed with purposeful energy as engineers loaded equipment designed to interface with alien technology. "Admiral," Commander Reyes spoke quietly at her side. "Some might consider this a strategic error. The Vrex came to exploit our system. Helping them contradicts tactical doctrine." Chen watched as the first shuttles departed toward the disabled vessels. "This isn't about tactics, Commander. It's about who we are. who we choose to be as a species entering the galactic community. Aboard the Eternal Harmony, Chief Engineer Kazuo Tanaka led his team through airlock procedures with calm efficiency. Vrex security personnel watched warily as the humans entered, their environmental suits marked with universal symbols for engineering and medical assistance. Meltik, the Vrex chief engineer, approached cautiously. "Our systems are unlike yours. How can you possibly assist?" Tanaka smiled behind his faceplate. "We've been studying your technology since our first scans." He gestured to a damaged power distribution node. "Your system architecture is elegant but vulnerable to cascade failures. If we reconfigure the junctions here and here, we can restore partial power while adding redundancy." Meltik watched in stunned silence as Tanaka's team began work, their movements displaying an intuitive understanding of Vrex technology that should have been impossible for a first-contact species. When Tanaka bypassed a critical failure point by improvising a connection using components from his own toolkit, Meltik's professional reserve broke. That's a 13% efficiency improvement over our original design," the alien engineer admitted, mandibles clicking in what the translation software identified as admiration. Tanaka shrugged. "When you grow up having to make do with limited resources and constant challenges, you learn to see possibilities others might miss." In a secured communications room elsewhere on the Eternal Harmony, a representative of the Tellarite species, the most recently added member of the Vrex Confederation, observed the human engineers working. After confirming the channel was isolated from Vrex monitoring, she activated a private communication to the Indomitable. "Admiral Chen," she began hesitantly, "I am Vental, secondary envoy of the Tellarite Union. What your people have demonstrated today, both in strength and in mercy, suggests possibilities my people had abandoned hope of finding. Perhaps we should discuss alternatives to the current arrangement." 1 month after the Neptune encounter, the Indomitable led an unprecedented procession through the edges of Earth's solar system. The once mighty battleship now bore additional markings, golden diplomatic insignia alongside its military designations, symbolizing its dual role as both protector and ambassador. On the observation deck, Admiral Chen stood beside the newly appointed Earth diplomatic envoy, Dr. Eliza Sharma. Through the massive viewport, they watched the approaching hyperspace junction, a massive structure of unknown materials that shimmered between dimensions, its alien architecture defying human engineering principles. 27 species await us at the Galactic Council, Dr. Sharma noted, reviewing her datapad. Most we've never heard of. The majority are requesting technological or cultural exchange programs. Chen smiled slightly. Amazing how quickly perspectives change when you demonstrate both the ability to disable a superior fleet and the restraint not to destroy it. Behind them, the observation deck hummed with activity. Meltik and a delegation of Vrex engineers clustered around holographic displays with their human counterparts, excitedly discussing the hybrid technologies that had emerged from their collaboration. The Vrex precision in energy management combined with human redundancy principles had yielded power systems superior to either original design. High Commander Zix Terra requests permission to join you, Admiral, Lieutenant Rodriguez announced from the communication panel. Granted, Chen replied, straightening her dress uniform. The Vrex commander entered with a formality that had softened over the past weeks. His bioluminescent patterns glowed with a calm blue that human xenobiologists had learned to interpret as thoughtful respect. The Galactic Council has never admitted a species as quickly as they're admitting yours, Admiral, Zix Terra observed. Some members are concerned about the precedent. And you, Commander? Chen asked. What concerns do you have? Zix Terra's secondary appendages shifted in what humans now recognized as their equivalent of a contemplative gesture. A month ago, I would have listed many. Now, I find myself more curious than concerned. Dr. Sharma's datapad chimed with an update. The Tellarite Provisional Government has formally requested Earth's assistance in renegotiating their Confederation status, she reported. That's the third Vrex client species this week. Zixtera's patterns flickered briefly with embarrassment. Our approach to interstellar relations is undergoing significant revision. Many within the Confederation are studying human diplomatic philosophies with great interest. Lieutenant Commander Patil approached, carrying the familiar lunar basalt chess set. "Your daily game, Commander?" she asked Zixtera. "Indeed," the alien replied, his mandibles clicking with anticipation. "I have been studying the Knight's Tour problem. Fascinating applications for hyperspace navigational algorithms." As the Vrex commander moved toward the game table, Chen turned back to the viewport. The hyperspace gate had activated, its swirling energies casting prismatic light across the observation deck. Beyond it waited a community of civilizations that had expected humans to arrive as primitives under supervision, if at all. Instead, they would meet a species that had earned its place at the table through an unexpected combination of technological innovation, tactical brilliance, and moral principle. "Tactical alert status," Chen asked softly. "Green across all systems," Patil replied. "The modified shields are functioning at 118% of original specifications, thanks to the Vrex enhancements." Chen nodded, watching as the Indomitables escort, a mix of human vessels and former Vrex ships, now displaying collaborative mission insignia, formed up around them. "Signal the fleet," she ordered. "Proceed to the gate." As Earth's first diplomatic mission to the galactic community accelerated toward the hyperspace threshold, Chen reflected on how close they had come to isolation, exploitation, or worse. Instead, humanity would enter the cosmos not as conquered or quarantined, but as respected equals, proving that sometimes the greatest strength isn't the ability to win a fight, but knowing when and how to end one.